Kashawn, how you doing? Thank you so much for submitting your work to get advice on applying the adjustment layer and creating separate clipping masks for them. That's great, great job. That's really good. I'm going to be looking for that in final submission, so I think it's fantastic. We're showing excellent proficiency in one of the most important tools in all of the Photoshop platform, and that is clipping masks and adjustment layers, and of course masking. Those are the three big ones that we're looking for in this class. I also did a furniture warehouse clipping mask for the name and the warping tool. I'll address that in a second. And great job for including your sources. It's really good job. All right. Please give feedback. Yes, of course. As always, I'll be glad to give feedback. So let's go ahead and take a look. I think that you're really showing excellent proficiency. Definitely. I mean, we've got all of our masking is intact here. That's fantastic. And you've got your layer masks. Your clipping, excuse me, your adjustment layers clipped using clipping masks. So that's fantastic. Really showing great proficiency here. And that's, again, really good job. You've got your production layer that presumably you erased to create this shadow layer. And the shadow layer is indicating, now there's one thing I want you to think about here, okay? Now, if you take a look at the position of the table and you take a look at the ambient light in the background, right? What we want to do is we want to match that ambient light, right? So what we want to do is we want to take a look at where the shadow is being cast from the light into the image itself. And as we can see, looking at this image, the cast shadow from the table is below and to the right of the table itself, indicating the light source is above and to the left over here somewhere. But your shadow indicates a light source that is in front of the object. So if the ambient light source were in front of the object, the cast shadow for the table would be back here somewhere, right? So you definitely want to address that. You want to, what I would do in this particular case is if you use this image, and I want to talk about this image in a second. If you use this image, I would take the whole creature, move him up here, and then just give a little room so we can create the shadow that's being cast to the front, bottom right of the caricature itself. Okay, so that, and the other thing is the type. I think the type is really difficult to read for two reasons. Number one, I think the typeface is really small, and I'm not sure about you might want to consider a beefier typeface if you're going to clip an image to it, because you can't really see any details through this little thin typeface. So maybe something like a Myriad Bold or something like that for your typeface. I think that might be a wise choice there. Okay, let's just go ahead and, okay, now the last thing I want to address in your work is the, and might as well mention this too. So seems like the shadow's a little bit dark. I would reduce the opacity of that. So we just come over to that shadow layer. It's really easy to find. If you don't want to go looking through you can find any item by one of two things. If you have this tool selected, this is your move tool. If the move tool is selected, up at the top, there's this thing called auto select. And if you click that, anything you select in the image will be selected in your layers panel. See, so for instance, let's say I want to select that layer and adjust it. I can't find it. There it is, dresser. And this comes in really handy, especially if you forget to name layers and forget what they're called. So you can just click that. The other thing is if you don't want that click, because sometimes you do end up clicking around your composition and you don't want things to get selected, so you would manually select them. So you unclick auto select, and in this case what I would do is I would just command click. So watch this shadow layer right now. Well, okay, so we're on some weird layer up here, right, dresser, and I want to get to the shadow layer. So if I just come over here and command click, look at that. That's cool, isn't it? Now you're on the shadow layer. You can just simply come up here and reduce opacity. Okay, cool. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is the background image itself. Now, I feel the background image is a little bit lacking in narrative quality. Let's put it like that. Let's say it's lacking in narrative quality. And the reason I say that is because it's simply a table. It's not really telling a story. I mean, what can we do? Can we put this guy in a furniture store, or can we put him in a furniture warehouse, or I don't know. room with furniture, just to have him some sort of interaction with the background, which I don't think we quite have at this point. Just the table is really super nondescript. It's a cool table. I love the table, but it just seems like it's just not telling enough stories. So consider that. Consider selecting a different background image. All right, those would be my recommendations. And if you have any questions at all, please feel free to let me know. Thank you. Great job.